You like?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Stone Salon. Every Thursday, 8:15 Central Time. We are in the 3 week, beginning with the 17th of Tammuz, last Wednesday. Semi-fast. And the metaphor is when the Romans reached the walls of Jerusalem. And then it took 3 weeks for the destruction of the temple. 3 weeks later. And so today, these 3 weeks have become a time for mourning. When in these hot summer months, in the cycle of our holy days, this is the time that we mourn. This is the time that we think about all the loss, all the disappointments, all the betrayals, all the devastation. Good timing for that. We kind of put it into these 3 weeks. And it culminates on Tisha B'Av, which is a full fast. It starts next Wednesday.
Can you hear us? Because sometimes we don't see who's watching or responses.
It's our neighbor.
Oh,
so nice.
Where do you see that?
Isn't it? Yeah, look. I see his name there.
Oh, I see. So sometimes we don't see who's watching, depending on what we have. Oh, here's Zach.
Oh, hi, Zach.
Zach is our collaborator in New York, in Brooklyn.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Talking a little bit about this time, because I'm feeling that people are really feeling the heaviness of these 3 weeks. And, you know, sometimes you don't know why. You're feeling extra anxiety, the sadnesses, the disappointments. The
Make sure you talk about
it. I don't know, I'm feeling it. And the idea is that you put yourself in the arms of this tradition and it carries you, whether you like it or not. And on Tisha B'Av, the very saddest day of the Jewish year, you know, we sit on the floor, we lament, we beat our chest, and then when the fast is done, we get up. Right? We get up. We get ourselves up. And it's not like the world has changed. Nothing may change around us. But hopefully, as we go through these rituals and we mark time in the Torah portion this week, actually, there are 42 stops, right? 42? It's 42 stops in the last portion of the book of Numbers. And each one, was a commentary that says that at each one, you have to untangle something. You untangle something in yourself, and you untangle something in the world. You get a lot of untangling to do. But when we get through, you know, the work that we do on each of the things, each of the steps, the micro, makes a difference in the macro. Maybe it does make a difference. And so we're not there yet. We're in this heavy mourning time. So tonight we'll lament, we'll learn, we'll listen.
But we're going to give some time to consolation too, because of all the years of doing this, one year it occurred to me, it might have been this year, it might have been last year, it was in the last couple of years. We entered this heavy grief, mournful grief filled 3-week period, and I feel it. I carry it around. You hear those cicadas? Those cicadas, you can probably hear them. We're outside. So we're in this heavy grief, heavy dip, 3 weeks. And then one we come out of it, we have 7 weeks of consolation. And one year it occurred to me that ratio, 3 to 7, jumped at me. I said, yeah, you know, that's about a right ratio. Like it takes more attentiveness on the consolation end than we might realize to come out of that 3 week. It was 3 weeks of mournfulness. And to pay attention to that ratio, 3 to 7. So I started to write a few pieces like that. I wrote them, called them the ratio 3 to 7. I made sure I grabbed a healthy amount of consolation, of messages that were sustaining, that came out of the sadness that we're carrying around this time of year. Because I feel it, even if I don't articulate it, I feel it. It's in there. So I brought some of those pieces tonight too. Make sure that we have some of the pieces of consolation to offer up. And a couple of tunes, and I have some things also that we've recorded that I think I'll try to play those, just an interesting mix. We made some recordings lately that we also made some videos to go with them. And one of them, there was a poem about that I wrote about the soul. This soul figures in the poem. I'm reaching in, I'm pulling up my soul, and it's a mouth, or it's a stick, or it's this and it's that. And the poem figured in this piece that we just recorded with Brothers Lazaroff. And it also figures in an earlier piece that I did when actually those guys hooked me up with this fellow, a really nice guy here, Capo, who made beats. He made beats, Beats. And I thought they were talking Beets. He wanted me to put some language to the beats, and I was thinking, put some language to the beats, that might be really interesting. How would I? So anyway, so I put these poems to these beats, and it came out. It was a beautiful piece. I love the piece. So I wanted to play that piece. It doesn't have video. It's just audio. It's from we made a whole CD together of beats and poetry. Beats, and it was called The Book of Healing, because all of the poems were on that theme of consolation or healing, everything on that. I don't know how it'll sound over a Zoom, but I'm going to pull it up and play it sometime.
I think I was learning that if you do screen share when you do it and then you play the video, I think there's an option to like take the sound from your computer. Like it'll sound really good if you use this screen share when you play it.
Yeah, well, I was intending on using the screen share.
My man.
But that's all I know. I don't know any more than that. But I think it'll be okay. If it's not, it's not. You know,
we're accustomed to technological imperfections.
Yeah, and you know, we're just, all of us are trying to manage during this period the best way we can. And I know one of the ways that Zachy and I have talked about, and Susie and I have talked about, and my other collaborators have talked about, is we got to keep doing stuff, and we got to keep creating stuff. And that's rough, you know, because this is a hard time to be at home and to be working on our own and on our own and on our own. And I guess Zachy and I were talking today how hard it is to play music, and good time to practice, but you know, a hard time to jam with other people is almost impossible. And so it made me think of, I have a piece here. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to start with this. This is good. I wrote this some years ago, and it's in a crazy style that I started writing. I don't know if I ever showed you this, Zach. It's kind of a strange thing. I started writing in the form of a page of Talmud. You know, I love the notion of communicating different voices on one page.
This is one of my favorite pieces from the tradition.
So what?
So this is one of my favorite pieces from the tradition.
Nice.
Yeah,
Great.
love this piece with the lamed.
So there's this thing in the Psalms, you know, where they have superscriptions. They have little epigraphs at the beginning. And some of the more common ones are to David, Le David, Mizmor Le David, or Le David, less common, Mizmor. So to David, a song or Mizmor, I'm not sure what it Mizmor, let's just call it a song. And there are other songs that have the song first. Mizmor to David, the David. But there's always some discussion. Yeah, that sounds good, Zach. Yeah, I like that. That's the other thing that keeps us alive and keeps us on fire is the oud that was played tonight. We love that sound so much. It's deep in there, that sound for us. Goes in there. So one of the discussions was, what's the difference between when you have this epigraph, when you have the superscription on a psalm, whether you mention David first or whether you mention the psalm first, the song first. So what's the difference? And there's a notion that there's a big difference because when you lead with to David, uh, that means that David begins. So the spirit comes and sits in David, and then he starts to play out. Or if it's first the song precedes the jump, and the song comes and David starts to sing, and then the spirit comes and starts to erupt inside him, you know, but it may not be there in the beginning. He's got to launch, man. He's got to jump into it. He's got to get out there into that space that is where all creativity happens, that space that has some danger associated with it. You got to get out into that space. Then you launch, and then the Shekhinah, the presence, will come and sit inside you. And so I wrote this piece based on that distinction. To David, a song. First, the Shekhinah came and sat on his shoulder. Then David played flat out on that axe of his. A song to David. First, David started to scat. Then the Shekhinah came and kissed his face. So sweet. He sang the secret bird song to his son, King Solomon, who knew the Shekhinah would not descend where there is laziness or sadness, silliness, light talk, but when there is joy, the deep joy of the mitzvah, then wow, your mind is blown. Like when the slow hand player came to play, the hand of God rested upon him. I heard this when the northern wind blew through David's singing harp in the palace of the king. I like that piece too because it's about joy as well. Like how do you get to it? How do you pull it out? Do you wait for it to happen to you? Or do you launch and go into that area that's beyond, just beyond your border, just beyond your complacency? That place is a little bit dangerous. And you get into it and joy erupts. A hard idea right now, but that's what the Psalms say. Sweet Zach, I can hear the sound of that beautiful instrument. Sounds so good to me.
Turkey.
Yeah. The one I got out here is turkey also. Big.
Susie, isn't your family from, where's your family from, Susie?
My grandfather from Turkey. My grandmother from Salonika. But, you know, when they were there, it was the Ottoman Empire.
I was born in
So,
Salon.
you know. My grandfather was from a small town called Kastoria. It was actually, he went to Istanbul after that. But
How
if you
far
go to,
from Istanbul?
huh?
How far is the small town from Istanbul?
You know, I'm not exactly sure. I actually did look it up. But
You never went?
I looked it up, but it's a little confusing because it actually looks like it's more, I don't know, you know, the boundaries, the borders have changed so much.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how far, but I know he was from Castoria because he went to, in Brooklyn, he would go to the shul for the Castorianese or something.
Wow.
And he's buried in a section with my grandmother of the Castorianese, or people of Castoria. It was a beautiful little town, and I've seen pictures of it at the Tenement Museum because one of the you know how they have at the Tenement Museum in New York on the Lower East Side, they have actresses act out in the apartment in the tenement.
Yeah.
And the picture on the mantle is from Castoria. So yeah, isn't that crazy? And she talks about what it was like in Castoria, which is grandfather grew up.
Wow.
You could never tell from this face, okay?
I look like my grandmother. She was from Salonika, right? Sarika. Her name was Sarika.
You got the face. Yeah. I recognized it from my homeland the first time I saw you.
But you know, my grandmother's family was from Yugoslavia originally. So somehow they went from Spain through Sarajevo and then ended up in Salonika. And my grandfather's family also from Spain, but went through Sofia, went through Bulgaria.
Wow.
All right, I'm going to honor you by playing a Sephardic Nigun from Salonic, taken from a melody. What happened to the guitar? Oh, taken from a melody that I picked up in my homeland in Salonic.
But you know, it's right to talk about that generation as we lament. it's right to talk about that generation when we reach for consolation, because my grandfather and my grandmother, they came together on a ship in 1916 with my Aunt Jerry, Raina was her name. And, on steerage, they came through Ellis Island. And then my grandfather tried to bring his family over. My grandmother's family was all killed at Auschwitz, but my grandfather's family, he, right before the war, he tried to bring them over, the Second World War, and made enough money and sent for his parents and his sister Palomba. And she had pink eye, or I don't know if it was that eye disease that they checked for at Ellis Island, but it could have just been a pink eye. And they sent them back, and they were torpedoed by a German U-boat, and so they never made it. And I can tell you that both my grandparents, who had no other family other than the family that they made here, the 7 children that they had no extended family. And, it's almost like when Jimmy says in the Talmud, it says that you have one eye laughing and one eye crying. That's what I felt about my grandparents. They were so full of joy and so full of love. They gave us so much, but there was always lament there. There was always a sadness that they lost so much.
And if they coexist, they're together, they're not separate.
They did. And especially in this tiny little apartment, in Brooklyn that I remember growing up in. It was 2 rooms. They had 7 children there,
Wow.
But there was always room. I'm not sure how, there was so much joy there. So much food. There was a lot of food and a lot of music and a lot of whiskey and Rocky.
A minor F. Here, I got another one. This is good. This is E major, E flat, C minor. This is a lament from a verse in Lamentations. I think it's 2:19, I think. It has 3 parts to the verse. Kumi, Roni, get up, sing in the night, in the darkest part of the night. Pour out your heart like water before the face of God. And he sang it that way for a long time. Then I realized there was a third part to the verse. Lift up your hands for the sake of the souls of your young children who are starving. Yeah, from hunger at the top of every street. It's not like a faraway place. It's right here. It's right here. It's right up the street. But first, you gotta split the darkness, you know, with the song. You gotta sing into the dark. Here's the second part. Shiki Kamai Kamai Libe Nocha Bene Hashem. Pour out your heart like water before the face of God. Pour out your heart like water before the face of God. I'm starving for hunger for the top of every street. Seal of Kapayim, I'm never sure la Atifim V'Raha, top of every street. All right, babyface, I'm gonna bring over some consolation now. 3 to 7. I want to hear some oud. I'm going to lay out some consoling words over that taksim. In the algebra of content, 3 hidden elementals of grief, 7 revealed of consolation, the complete 10. The table is balanced for comfort. Sadness pulled from within the secret force, dark and dominatrix, free from chains with the gradual revelation of toward, because from is strong. Calculating weights, sadness sat on the hands, lingered on the heart line. A hand threw down a line. Slowly, slowly, a body took hold, silent, alive, unsatisfied. There is a hilltop in Jerusalem where heaven and earth touch. After the destruction, the bride began to weep. The ground wept too. The bride returned as a bird perched at the wall. For 3 weeks in summer, I sat low with sadness. I planned to bleed, wash myself clean. This I have been taught. After a river of tears, expect the Messiah. Comfort and be comforted. Listen, intention to offer and serve. Wilderness a plain, every valley a high place. All flesh see together, grass and flowers speak to the mountains. Lift up your voice from low places. Foundations know and hear. Lift up your eyes, plant your feet. Give yourself a name. Give everything a name. You abandoned me. You've forgotten me. A mother does not forget her child. You came out of my womb. I could not forget you. Engrave psalms on your hands. Build me into a fence. Whatever pursues will depart. Lift up your eyes, alive. Clothe yourself with ornaments. Your narrows, too small for you. Be a bride. Hey, I'm going to try to pull up a beat. You tell me how it sounds. I recorded this with these guys. It turned out so great. I just loved it. and we'll see if it works. See if it works. This is called Soul Dialogue. Okay, let's see if this works. I'm alone with my shoes, and still I cannot move. One step from the world would cease to exist. Let me know in some abstract, non-abstract way in my soul. Let me know. Let me know. Let my soul speak freely to my heart. Let me know. I'm carrying my soul with me wherever I go. A hand, a field, a small house, a mountain. I unpack my bag. I reach in, I pull up my soul. It's a mouth now, a pen, a stick. It has taken the shape of prayers I'm speaking to you, from you, same voice. To you, from you. To you, from you. To you, from you, same voice. Same voice. Same voice. I'm alone with my shoes, and still I cannot move. Save me, my soul. Save me, my soul. Pick me up and lay me down. Pick me up, lay me down. Pick me up, lay me down. Save me, my soul. Pick me up, lay me down. 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 I'm alone with my shoes, and still I cannot move. Let me know. Let me be wise. Let's be wise together. Let my soul speak freely to my heart. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Pick me up. Lay me down. Pick me up. Lay me down. I unpack my bag, take out a sandwich, make tea. Pick me up, lay me down, speaking to you, speaking to you, speaking to you, same voice. Lay me down, pick me up, lay me down.
Nice.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah, groovy.
Beats, baby. Beat poetry. Beats poetry. Groove poetry. You know? It was a, it's that sound, man. It's a way of getting beyond the border of your complacency and getting into that place of danger, you know, and bringing the rest of you along with it. You know, Rabbi Nachman has this thing about in his introduction to when he was telling the stories, he has this thing about what his aesthetic was. And he says in the introduction, he says, it was a way of my soul speaking directly to my heart, bypassing the mind. Is that great? I love that. He wanted to go around the mind, you know, that the mind would interfere with the deep story, the deep wisdom.
It's talking about the fairy tales, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 13 stories. That's what he was doing, you know. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play another.
Stories. Yeah, play another one. I don't know if I can't tell where the sound is coming from. Oh, you're gonna play a guitar. I can tell where the sound is coming from.
I also play real light because I know that the Zoom can't handle too much sound. I'm a beat farmer. I like that. Get up and sing. At the darkest part of the night, get up. That's when you get up and you sing. Split the darkness. Split the darkness. That's when you sing. And you're bold enough to do that, then you pour out your heart like water. You open up all the gates. What's that setting, Gary? Oh, original sound. Okay, I'll try that. Okay. My man. Gumi. Split the darkness with the song. At the darkest part of the night. Open up the gates so you can pour out your heart like water before the face of God. And then don't get too complacent because it's not a far away or over there deal you're dealing with here. It's right at the top of every street. Next door, the top of every street. I found it, Gary. Thank you.
Shifty Mayim pour out your eyes like water. Amayim libe Nocha V'nei Hashem. Sielav kapayich al nefesh ulalai. Lift up your hands. Lift up your hands for the sake of the souls of young children at the top of every street, starving from hunger. The top of every street. Get up and sing in the darkest part of the night. Split the darkness with the sun, with your song naked. Okay, I'm going to play a video now. I don't know how true it is, but I'm going to play it. Sometimes I believe it and sometimes I don't. But it's a little thing we put together. Also from the new album. Okay. Let's try this. Destabilized, paralyzed, I am not afraid. Cannibalized, infantilized, I am not afraid. Like a tree planted by the water, oh, I am not afraid. Modularized, polarized, I am not afraid. I am not afraid. I'm not afraid. Oh, I am not afraid. No. I am not afraid. Hear me now. I am not afraid. Elasticized, territorialized, not afraid. Like a pigeon on a New York Public Library, I am not afraid. Factionalized, depersonalized, I am not afraid. Pressurized, particularized, oh, I am not afraid. I am not afraid. I am not afraid. No, I'm not. I am not. I am not. I am not afraid. I'm telling you now, you believe me, I am not. I am not. I'm not afraid. I am not afraid. Tell me when I need to hear it that I am not afraid. Revitalized, humanized, I am not afraid. Harmonized, democratized, oh, I am not afraid. Organized, synchronized, I am not afraid. Civilized and spiritualized, I am not afraid. I am not afraid. No, I am not. Oh, I'm not afraid. I am not afraid. No, I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
All right, Zach, you lay down some mood. I'm going to close with some poetry of consolation. Oh, wait a minute. You wanted to play a tune. I want to hear it. You got it, that lament, no?
I played the lament while you did a makama. I'll sing you. I want to sing you a piyut.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be conciliatory. I'll sing it conciliatory. The poem is Israel Najara, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Susie, they must have sang this one, and your ancestors definitely had a version for this song. It's famous amongst Najara is really well known in the Sephardi communities, and this is one of the more well-known ones. But I don't know the old melody, so I finally wrote one. Yalla yalla, yalla yalla, יבודוני יחיש סיידיו יאכלת פרי מגדיו עם ידידי ירבו תודברך יחידי שבל כהני שובי אלי יד בת אהובה שובי יד בת שובה הנה מזודות ובקי בתוך חתם מיש כהני יאללה יאללה בואי לגני נצרימון ברכה גפני יאללה יאללה בואי לגני פנץ רימון ברכה גפני יאללה 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 דודי נפשי פדיתה ולבד מייזותי קניתה טלי ונמים זריתה וכתום הרקיעה תני יאללה יאללה בואי לגני נץ רימון ברכה גפני יאללה יאללה בואי לגני נץ רימון ברכה גפני יאללה 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 לו יחיד דברך ידידי אתה מהר תסוף לדודי אותו ציון גדודי ושם אקריב לך את קרבני יאללה יאללה בואי לגני נץ רימון ברכה גפני 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 יאללה 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 חזקי ראיה חיכך כיין תוקי ציצי שירנן ורעתו ולסירייך אחרוד וכתוב וחישש לך לחצה גני יאללה יאללה בואי לגני נץ רימון ברכה גפני יאללה 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 בואי לגני נץ רימון ברכה גפני
Sweet, baby,
Nice.
sweet.
Beautiful.
Lay down a little Hijaz and finish
So
with
that one
another
is-
poem.
Sing out of your narrows, lay out a tent, secured with tent pegs and lines. Lay it out in pleasant places, spread it out nightly. You will not be shamed. Remember, then forget. The shame of your youth, we both blinked for a moment. The waters of Noah have passed. I have sworn on the mountains and hills this covenant of peace. Your light will never diminish. All your people are righteous. You are all a branch of the planting. God's handiwork, all of you. Lift your eyes all around you. They are all assembled to accompany you. Radiant, fearless, and expansive shall be your heart. My guests for tonight have been Susan A. Talvey, sitting here in darkness to my right. In Brooklyn, New York, my main man, major collaborationist, the pal Zach Fredman. Thanks everybody who came to watch and listen and to pick up a little tonight. We gave over the show to lamentation, grief, and consolation. In the ratio of 3 to 7, for 3 measures of grief, we pull out 7 measures of consolation. Our grief is deep, our consolation working hard for us. The Shekhinah, she shows up. She is working so hard for us. So thanks for showing up, everybody. Zach, thanks for coming. Thanks for playing some beautiful oud.
Shoot, my pleasure.
And Susie, thanks for living here. Appreciate it very much. See you next time, everybody. Good night. Stay safe. Bye-bye.